Hello, I'm TerryDavidMulligan. This is the Mulligan Stew podcast. It's 181, if I'm not mistaken. Colin James, friend of mine, longtime friend of mine. One of the great things about doing radio over an extended period of time, like a lifetime, is that you get to make friends with certain people. You get to watch artists take their first steps, their first gig, their first tour, their first break, their first recording, first award. And in the case of Colin James, I've gotten to watch all of that and hear all of that over the past 20 albums. And he's just released his 20th album. It's called Open Road. And I said to Colin, what's the theme? He said, no, there's no theme really. I'm just setting a mood. I want to set a mood. And Open Road kind of does it for me. He's described it as a slight departure because Colin can rock and roll. But he is at heart a blues guy, like honoring the classic blues. It was handed off to him by Stevie Ray Vaughan, who discovered him in Regina, Saskatchewan. Colin got up on stage and played with Stevie. And Stevie said, I'm opening the door, walk through. They became very good friends. And that's one of the reasons why Colin James plays the blues the way Colin does. Sometimes he's considered roots rock, Americana. The last two albums have been blues-leaning, Miles to Go, and Blue Highways, and they did very well for him in the United States, in Canada, obviously. Now, this new one, I'm going to play the tracks that were written by his Canadian friends, the guys who he feels comfortable with, Craig Northey, Tom Wilson from Blackie and the Rodeo Kings, and his own solo career, of course, and also from Blackie and the Rodeo Kings, the Nashville-based Colin Linden. There's two songs from him here. We're going to play You Leave This House, Open Road, There's a Fire, and Raging River. So those are the tracks we're going to play for you. Colin's got some dates on the Lower Mainland in Vancouver Island just about now. And in Alberta, he's doing 2 nights at Festival Place in Sherwood Park, Alberta, the 17th and 18th. Lloydminster on the 20th of November. And then 2 nights, the 23rd and 24th of November, for Blues at the Bow. And then, he tours with Buddy Guy, starting in March of 2022 in Beverly Hills, Arizona, Kentucky, Nashville, all over Texas. And he gets to play at Austin City Limits with Buddy Guy on the 20th of March next year. He is getting their attention in the United States of America. We welcome back to Mulligan Stew and the Mulligan Stew podcast, Colin James and his new album, Open Road. Welcome. Hi, how are you?
I'm well.
This is Mulligan Stew, CKUA, and the Mulligan Stew podcast. This is very cool. So, Colin, it's taken a while to actually hand us new music and then get to talk to you because you were a little busy doing pandemic and survival. And how did you handle it as a family?
As well as you can.
Yeah.
You know, this industry in particular got super whacked hard.
Yeah.
As you know, I mean, there's other industries that did, and it's funny how certain ones took off and other ones were just left in the dust. And, it started out, Heather and I started this On the Couch series on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just to keep busy,
yes.
Keep my fingers working because, for 30 years, there's not been ever that much time without guitars in my hands.
I know.
And some people are maybe the type of people that, go into their room and woodshed and do scales. I've never really done that because we always worked so much that it was kind of it was just what you did. You'd at least to play the gig a week and a half ago, or 4 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, or yesterday. And now, almost 2 years. I mean, I think I played 3 or 4 shows, and other than the things we did at home here. So, the record, I've never taken this long for a record to come out. I've always had every 2 years, almost like clockwork.
Yeah.
This is 2.5, which was weird. But that's it. The byproduct of that was I didn't have a chance to do what I usually do in a given year where I'm working on a record is fly to Nashville 2 or 3 times, go to Hamilton, visit Tom, go to Toronto, write with this person, go to LA. Usually in a given year and a half, I would have done that, 2 or 3, 4 writing trips at least. And I didn't have that luxury, as you can imagine. So I had to kind of look through my old catalog, find some songs that I never quite got to in the time. So Raging River, I wrote with Colin Linden in 1993, probably, somewhere in there. And I wrote it when I lived in Lions Bay. The Raging River was, of course, the river that came rushing down. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And it was a dream I had, that song. And Colin cut it, but I just never had a chance. And finally I thought, well, so that song is like that. There's a couple other songs that just won't leave this house. When I leave this house, it's just a rocker, It's just a little fun.
I got to tell you, it was driving me crazy because I couldn't remember the song that it reminded me of, and it finally came to me. Sudden Stop, 1990, just came back to say goodbye because it's that, I don't know what you call it in musical terms, it's that stop at the end. It's addictive when you just came back to say goodbye. And now I'm loving that rock and roll tune.
I've had it around since I wrote it with Tom Wills.
Yeah.
And I wrote it right around the time we did Freedom. So this is like 94, something like that. I always dug it.
Just like Cain and Abel, let the devil come around. I'm the king of the garden with the state for crown. When the Lord points his finger, that's when I'm going down. Well, I ain't no angel, but I like to pretend I'm the king of the road on the prairie wind. Gonna roll down the highway till I get to the end. But when I leave this house, I ain't coming back. Leave this house, I ain't coming back. Tie my sins to a railway track. Leave my initials in chicken scratch. The garden oven has broken my back. When I leave this house, I ain't coming back. I ain't coming back.
I'm reading Miami Steve.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's interesting. You and he cross paths in many respects about the arranging of songs, the way you, like for example, you work with Craig and you fold his guitar and his thoughts into Open Road, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
it's, yeah, you might be riffing it. You might be just making it up as you go and just trusting your instincts. But you're both thinking arranging, how you arrange a song, how you want us to hear it. Because once you lock it down, it's done, right?
Yeah.
You get to trust those instincts pretty much, right?
Yeah, you do. And it was a little harder this time because my co-producer was in London, England. Technically, that wasn't a problem. Nowadays with technology, he could take over my computer from London.
Sure.
So he would just take it over and I'd watch things flying around. And,
nice.
It was great. But the problem was he couldn't start working till 7, 8 at night. By the time we finished 3 hours later, it was midnight London time.
Wow.
It was just, I'm used to having kind of not just full control, but nothing kind of goes by.
Yeah.
Not just like, oh, we'll leave it. I'm not like,
no.
I found it hard to keep on things with the distance. And usually when we make records over the years, you do your bed tracks in a week or two, or usually a week, usually sometimes 4 days. The band leaves, you go home, take a break, and then you fly back to wherever you're recording. You do 2 or 3 weeks solid, and you don't stop. You and the producer sitting right here. Well, we didn't have the luxury, so I'm setting up mics. I'm putting mics on cones. I'm having to learn my technical chops and make sure I'm sending it to him unadulterated with no reverb. So for me, I had to learn how to be an engineer, which was not, it's a little scary. I had him to oversee it because he's a great engineer. But, so that was it. But I love getting Craig Northey on my records, mostly because he's not a blues player. And I love the way, even on Blue Highways, he plays on Big Road Blues.
Yeah.
And the way he plays rhythm is not like a blues player wouldn't play like that. And I love that because I'm already playing that stuff. So it's always good to find a juxtaposition.
And one more thing, because I want to play Open Road. Do you look for themes? Do you sometimes beat yourself up trying to find the ties to each and all of the tracks, or do you let the music singularly speak for itself?
In this case, I wanted a J.J. Cale groove. I just wanted a nice swampy groove.
Yeah.
And I wanted to write just kind of a dreamlike sequence. I wanted to be, and obviously with everyone shut in, Open Road, being the calling card, sure, title-wise, and trying to figure out how to set a mood. And that was really just trying to set a mood. The headline with the heavy electric guitar was a complete accident because that was supposed to be the solo. And then Dave cut it into a part without really, he sent it to me and I went, what? So that just became a part. And so that was cool. That was like an example of working long distance and having it work.
Sure.
Walking down a back row with no flashlight, night birds singing their tune under the soft blue light of the moon. Time rolls like a wheel over things I knew but forgot to feel. And as I walk, the light reveals some scars are never gonna heal. Another day, story told. Every life is an open road. calm down your mind. It's gonna be alright in time. You can't unsay what's already been said. Got no control of what lies ahead. On my way, I'm gonna be underneath the blue sky, where you can find me when the sun goes down and leaves me hollow. I got you and the stars to follow. Another day, a story told. Every life is an open road. You live and let the miles unfold. Every life is an open
By the way, I haven't told you this, and we're 15 minutes into the freaking interview. This is the best. This is the best. This is going to serve you really, really well.
I hope so, you know.
No, I'm telling you now, man, this is killer music.
Well, thank you. You know, we got a nice review out of Illinois yesterday, the Midwest Tribune. And it was nice to see, because I get pretty wound up. I've been living in a bubble.
Yeah.
And I can't listen to it anymore. So I haven't listened to it in quite a few months, because you go through those, there's this interest, peak, and then
it's a window,
a sharp slide where you go, I hate everything. And it's a bizarre thing. I'm sure I'm not alone.
But now you got to go tour it. You got to go play it, man.
Hey, man, I'm so excited. I started going over songs for I have a bunch of different tours coming up. I have an acoustic tour, which is a completely different animal than my electric shows. Well, it's not true. They cross over here and there. And I started going over songs just with my family, my daughter and my wife last night, just kind of, should I do this? Should I do that?
Yeah.
And we just had a ball. And now I have a whole string of new stuff to bring in, which is always exciting. A set list is only as deep as you let it be, and you make it be. And that's up to you. And, every time you go out for a tour, you take a little list and you go, I did that too much last time, out. And this is in and that is out. And I love that. And just having a 20th record out is just, it's so nice to have. Like Down on the Bottom, for instance, for the rock show. Yeah. It's just great to have another fun, easy rocker like that,
who scraped it up? Where'd you find it?
Well, that was Mazzaro's.
Because it was on Basement Tapes, right?
It was on Basement Tapes, yeah. And he just always loved the song. My management office worked that record because of Elvis Costello.
Yeah.
So I guess it was probably a little more on their minds because I didn't really listen to that record when it came up, actually. I don't know if you did, but I did.
I went back looking for specific tracks and specific players.
Yeah. And it's a very artfully done record, you know, much more done in much more subtler than my version. But I guess it was Jim James who wrote the lyrics, finished a Bob Dylan song that was already written.
Yeah.
That was the whole idea of the project. And, you know, it's typical Dylan's great minimalized, potent lyrics, you know, it's so good.
Just one more thing while we're there with Dylan. How surprised were all of us when that last album came out, Rough and Rowdy Ways? Goodbye, Jimmy Reed, the 16-minute single.
Oh, she's so nuts.
What the hell?
In such a great way. I went to his art show in London 3 years ago. I just, you know, how art galleries are free in London.
Yeah. And
I was just walking around Claridge's area, and there was this gallery full of Dylan, just full of Dylan. His metal gates, he does iron, he welds, so he does iron gates, and all of his art. And oh my God, is he ever good? And it was like, you know, that man, oh my Lord, I mean, the creativity in that guy is insane. I'm looking at these tracks I wrote down, Colin. There's a Fire, you and Colin Linden again. One of the older tunes or newly written? Yeah, I wrote There's a Fire, you know, pretty quickly after the George Floyd incident that kind of changed the world. And without being too verbose, I wanted to at least write something to convey it. And it was just kind of a visceral reaction to it. There's a fire burning in our hearts. There's a fire burning in our hearts. Oh, we gotta make a change. It's not too late to start. Can't go on like this. Tomorrow starts today. Yeah, we can't go on like this. Tomorrow starts today. Takes all you got when you gotta find another way.
'cause they don't speak for me. Let the old stones crumble, 'cause they don't speak for me. Yeah, we gotta find a way, find a new way to be free.
And I was looking at some tour dates here, and I see that you're coming by on the Rock, November 8th, Qualicum Civic Center, then the 9th in the Tidemark Theater in Campbell River, November 10, Powell, then Penticton, and Vernon, Cranbrook. Then you start rolling into Alberta, Sherwood Park, 17 and 18, the Vic Jube Theater in Lloydminster on the 20, the Camrose 21st, Blues at the Bow Island, 23, 24, and more to follow, I would assume.
Yeah, well, the new year will be the Canadian, probably February, March, I think.
Yeah.
February into March.
Yeah.
Will be, I think we're going east to west, so we're starting in Quebec City.
Okay.
I don't think we're getting farther east this time. We're going to have to get back next time. We have to be done the Canadian tour in time for the Buddy Guy tour. And the Buddy Guy tour is starting on the 14th. In Los Angeles at the Saban Theater. So I'm really excited. So we start with Buddy there, and we're doing like the House of Blues in Dallas and Houston, and the ACL in the Austin City Limits in Austin. So, and then we're continuing all the way up to New Jersey. So
okay, stand back and just be a third person for a second. But you opening for Buddy Guy in partnership, the audiences that you can find on that tour are phenomenal.
I'm doing it because it's going to be a great gig. It's, because we'll be playing 2,000 some seaters, and it's taken me my whole life to start getting a little bit of action down below the border and starting to get some name recognition. So we're just trying to, it's still a mammoth task. It's still, as anyone will tell you, it's just America's so big and it's so hard to know how to go about it. But Blue Highways had a nice kind of calling card and got my name in the door.
A nice handshake. Yeah.
I guess, I don't know what the thing was. I guess it was because it was all kind of covers of classics generally on Blue Highways.
Yeah.
It allowed people to kind of come in and not fight. Was it blues rock? Is it this? Is it that? It was that. And subsequently, we've managed to kind of wrangle a bit more of attention. And I think the Buddy Guy tour, will hopefully speak to that and allow us to further it. And, you're not going to be able to, it's Buddy Guy's audience. He's what, 80, I think 85, is that right?
Yeah.
So
it's just a number, bud.
Yeah. But he's got, and at his age, I mean, I think there'll be a lot of focus on the tour for him. And I think he's got a new record coming out as well. So, I think it's going to be fantastic. I honestly can't wait. We're playing some places I haven't got back to since 1991. We're playing, and when we're not playing with him, we're doing our own shows. We're playing Oklahoma City on our own. Okay. We're playing Nashville on our own at the City Winery.
So my question is, which Colin James are they going to see?
Well, I can be
because the set list is everything,
That's the thing, right? I've already thought about that, and I think my job is to go out, do a nice varied set that doesn't. Well, I'll probably start acoustic. I'll probably start with Riding in the Moonlight and do a couple acoustic songs with Steve Mariner, just to set, because he's Buddy Guy. He's going to have the rock and roll and the loudness and all that. So I think I'll just not try to compete again. It's like I'll just try to augment his show the best I can.
Two things. The first one is stand back and be a third person again, talking about Colin James as a performer, as an artist, as a singer, as a songwriter. Your place in music today, well earned, but where is it? Where do you land now? Who's your audience?
Yeah. It's hard to say, right? Because, the blues world has a lot of different, even inside, it seems a little monochromatic and it seems a little narrow, but there's actually people who like, in that world, there's kind of people who like guitar forward, licks forward, endless solos. There's people who just want the song and a tasteful solo. There's all kinds of people like that, and I like just to kind of bring new energy to it, but still be relatively true to the form. And it's always been a hard line. It's a hard line to walk, like, because as soon as you do more contemporary material, you risk. First of all, blues rock often falls into kind of stereotypical tropes that I'm not particularly fond of.
Yeah.
So it's always that fight, because when I'm doing a Charles Brown or a Muddy Waters or a Willie Dixon song, I know what I'm in for. I know what the rules are. Yes, you can reinvent it and do it a different way, but I know the song is tried and true. When you bring contemporary music into it, sitting alongside those other songs, that's the struggle. That's the hard bit. But talking to you about like America again, with Buddy Guy, I don't have to necessarily play some of the old hits that I have a real mixed feeling about that. I never don't want to play a song that people want to hear. I mean, that's never something I set out to do.
Yeah.
And for years, I wouldn't play certain songs like Voodoo Thing. I've gotten a little better on my electric show of being a bit cooler about that. Just like, don't worry about it. Often I can bring that to it and it's okay. But down there's no reason to play 5 Long Years. I have nothing against 5 Long Years. I love that song for what it is to me and my life, but they don't need to hear that down there. Yeah. So I don't have to play that. So I'm going to just try to think about tasteful set, that's it.
I'll tell you what, I wish Stevie Ray were here to see this. I really do.
I thought about that the other day because he never even heard the Little Big Band 1 record.
No.
He only heard my Sudden Stop record, and that was a little better than my first one as far as I was concerned, showing Stevie it.
Yeah.
And I know he would have just dug that Little Big Band stuff, and it just,
And I wish he would. I can remember the last time I interviewed him, he had always hid below the brim of the hat. And this time, the last time I saw him, his face was up. You could see his eyes. He was clear. He had come through all of his demons. And I thought the whole world was sitting in front of him. Anyway.
Well, and it was. And I often think, his love of Kenny Burrell, he loved Kenny Burrell. If you phoned Stevie back then when he was with Jana, was to be his wife, he would leave his message machine had Kenny Burrell on it. I think it was Chitlin's Concardi.
Wow.
By Kenny Burrell. And when I'd phone him, I was always so nervous. I always tried to be normal, but by the time I actually dialed his number, it didn't even sound like me anymore. I'd be like, just be yourself. Hello, Stevie, baby. And it was just like the worst. Anyway.
Oh, man. I'm glad you got this out, and I'm glad this 20th album is as good, is as fantastic as it is. I'm not astonished. I am happy. I'm delighted and surprised, and I love the fact that your timing is impeccable once again.
Oh, good. Well, I hope so. I'm really excited. It's taken me my whole life to start working with this one. I have an agent now, an American agent, and I've been wanting him as my agent my whole life. And I finally have an agent who's working for me down south of the border, and it's a great feeling.
You're ready. You're primed and ready to go. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
I'll see you on the island.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll see you there.
Time rolls by like a raging river. The days rush on around the bend. If you jump in try to save them, you may never come back again. One night I walked by the raging river, I heard a voice, but I saw no one. She cried, glory, glory, hallelujah. I will carry your burden home. Raging river, even fire can burn you down. Raging river, cries don't sleep so sound. Stood on the edge of a raging river, saw your reflection staring back at me. I reached out and tried to touch you. Raging river rolled out to sea.
Colin James, and 4 tracks from his just released album called Open Road. We played you the title track, a rockin' little ditty called Leave This House. There's a Fire and Raging River. Just 4 of the tracks on Colin's new album, Open Road. My thanks to everyone at the Feldman Agency and his management in the States that allowed us to play those tracks on the podcast. Way to go, Colin. If you get a chance to see him because he's going to be a busy guy for the next couple of years. All right, coming up on the podcast next week, Miami, Steve Van Zandt, and his life and times all wrapped up in his brand new autobiography. In 2 weeks, Dan Mangan, who has released a 45 to 50 minute documentary about his concert 2 years ago at the Vogue Theatre in Vancouver. Very different, not like any concert documentary you've seen, because it's Dan Mangan and his relationship with his audience. And then in 3 weeks, The Fretless. This is Mulligan's 2, the podcast. Please subscribe on Spotify, Google Play, or Apple Podcasts, and then it will come automatically to you each and every week. Take care of yourself. Thank you.